It's Captain Chris Myers, Central Florida Sight Fishing Charters. And with springtime coming up, hopefully we'll have the return of our ladyfish, our bluefish, our sail cats, and our other migratory species showing up in Mosquito Lagoon and the Indian River. I'm going to show you a tip for being able to catch a lot of those fish without constantly having to change your leader. What I do is take a regular old plug, and this is just a standard chug bug with some rattles in it that all those fish will bite. But instead of using mono leader, where you have a good chance of getting cut off by a bluefish or broken off if you don't constantly retie after lots of ladyfish, I'm going to use some stranded stainless cable. I'm going to show you how you can make this thing into a fish catching machine. And I'm going to get rid of these treble hooks, which also catch a lot of floating grass. You know, Mosquito Lagoon, there's always some grass floating around. And with these hooks hanging down, not only do they catch grass, which make the plug not work correctly, but with these treble hooks, every time you get up a ladyfish or a bluefish, you know, they're thrashing around. You got one set of hooks out, the other one gets in, so you're constantly, trying to get the hooks out. We're going to make this a single hook rig. It's easy to de-hook these fish because most of us are not keeping them. We're catching and releasing them. We want to have a lot of action, and you want to quickly get that fish off and throw out so you can get the next one. So I'm going to show you how to make a rig out of this thing that'll last you for lots of fish, and it'll be easy to hook them and release them. So here's my plug, and you can see what I've done is I made a little modification. I've removed the treble hooks that came with this plug, and I've added a single circle hook. And I want to attach this hook with split rings so that the hook, as it's pulled forward, rides in this manner, so it'll go over the top of the grass. So this is the surface plug, and I don't want the hook pointing down so that as I bring it along it's going to catch all the grass. On this particular plug, I had to add a second split ring so that I could get that hook to ride in the proper manner. So you may have to add one. Some plugs you do, some you don't, but I want it to ride in this manner. If you don't have a pair of split ring pliers, they're pretty cheap and they make changing out these hooks much simpler. So now, once I have the hooks changed out, I'm going to add my 7-strand cable. Step number 1 is going to be to feed this through the eye once and then come back around and do it a second time. So I'm just going to feed it through one time, feed it through a second time, and now I'm going to form an overhand knot in this. And sometimes you have to do it 2 times, but what I want to have happen is 2 strands to be on the bottom. So I have 1 strand on top, 2 on the bottom. I'm going to pull this loop down so it's pretty small, but I want to do it by pulling the main line, and so I don't have end up with a super long tag end. You'll see why in a second. So I'm going to keep the plug in this position with that loop with the single strand at the top and the 2 strands in the bottom. I'm going to pinch both of these in my right hand, and then I'm going to grab the plug and start twisting it around. I'm going to twist it around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to take my tag end, I'm going to bend it up at a 90-degree angle to my main line. So you can see my tag end is bent at a 90-degree angle. So once that's at 90 degrees, I'm going to hold it between my fingers again, finish twisting until that tag end is gone, however many turns that takes. So we don't want it to be super long. We're going to end up with a really long knot. So twist that all the way down, and that'll come out pretty smooth. And I can pull up on this to make sure the loop is proper. And now I have a plug that's tied on, and I could adjust the size of that loop if I wanted to. I can make it smaller or bigger. I make it relatively small. So we're going to come on the other end and we're going to tie on a swivel. You could take this other tag end and tie it on with a Albright if you wanted to tie it on. I like to have a swivel on there so I can pull it onto the box, throw it on, tie it on with a uni knot, and I'm ready to go real quick. It's a lot quicker than having to tie Albrights every time. So I'm going to show you how to tie on a swivel. When we put on our swivel, we're going to put it on the same way as we did with the plug. We're going to put it through 2 times, And we're going to form that overhand knot through there so that I have two pieces going through at the swivel and one strand on top, just like we did with the plug. So this is how it should look. Now we're going to tie the exact same knot. However, if I grab this swivel and start twisting, I'm just going to twist the swivel and the eye is never going to turn. It's kind of hard to reach up there and pinch that little eye, because every time you let it go, you can't hold it in your hand like you can the plug and keep twisting it. Every time you let it go, it comes back the other way. So what you do is you form yourself a little tool out of a paper clip. You see what I've done? I've made a finger hole. I left a little hook. So put your finger through there, come down and hook your swivel in the same end that line is going through. And now I can hold this stuff in my right fingers again. I'm going to start twisting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm going to come up and I'm going to make that 90 degree just like we did before. So bend it up at 90 degrees. This is basically the same way you would make a haywire twist. I'm going to continue one. However many twists it takes till that end is gone. I can remove my little tool and I can pull down on that to form that, and now I have the plug on one end, I have my swivel on the other end. I can take this thing out of the box, tie it on real quick, and I can fish for a long time with lots of fish without constantly having to retie. If you'd like to see that one more time, I'll do it with some much bigger, I'll do it with a piece of rope and a giant hook so it's easy to see in case you couldn't see it well on here. But that just showed you how quick and easy that can be to put on. What I'm going to use is a giant hook. Since I don't have a giant plug and some rope, I'm going to show you how to do this. So we're going to put it through one time, we're going to bring it back around, we're going to put it through a second time, and then we're going to make that overhand knot, so that we have two pieces going through the eye of the hook, one piece on top. So this is what it should look like. I'm going to grab a hold of my hook or plug. You could do this with a hook as well if you'd like to. And I'm going to hold these two pieces in my hand and I'm just going to start twisting. I'm going to twist that around 5 times. Then I'm going to take this tag end, I'm going to bend it up at a 90 degree. So when I finish doing this, it's wrapping this in barrel wraps. These were twists that we made. Now we want to form barrel wraps. So we're going to hold it in that manner. We're going to continue twisting the plug around, and you can see how it forms much tighter wraps up at the top than it did down at the bottom. And you just continue going until it's gone. And that is how we tie on a hook. You can tie on a plug, and you can tie on the swivel, all in that same manner with 7 strand.